Hello everyone, welcome to our video. So, in our talk today, we're going to present you something that you might not want to miss out on. But first of all, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Alvin Andrean S with student number 19063000529.
And I'm Sherly Dita H with student number 19063000030.
And I'm Neta Alfateka K with student numbers 19063000031.
Okay, guys, in this presentation, we will explain the mind map about the position of poverty. We will discuss point by point with four supporting points from the main point, the position of poverty. So, what are we going to talk about? The first is, what are the proofs of poverty? The second is, what are the factors of poverty? Then, we will discuss the categories in poverty. The fourth point, we will explain how to handle the poverty itself. And we will close with a conclusion. So, without further ado, let's start with the first point that will be explained by Shirley. Take your time.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Alvin. Now I'm going to tell you about the first point, which is the proof of poverty. Because of the economic difficulties experienced by the poor, we can tell the proof by their physical matter. For instance, they have such limited and insufficient food, are poorly clothing, and live in dirty, stuffy, and cold shelters. However, it is relative in matters of living standards because it varies from person to person. Those who have income but only enough to survive are also included in poverty-stricken people. In short, those who can fulfill their basic necessities can be one of the proof of poverty. That's all about the proof. Now let's move on to the next point, which is the factors of poverty. What makes a person included in the poverty-stricken people? Poverty rate depends on family size and the place of residence. Those who live in rural area have lower income than those who live in the cities. And of course, it will affect change in living costs. Therefore, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare in America has established rough standards based on the family size, location, and changing prices. This is done to separate the poor from the less poor and the rich. That's all I have to say about the factors. The next point will be explained by Alvin. Alvin, please take your time.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Let's talk about the categories in poverty. The categories in poverty are divided into two broad categories: case poverty and insular poverty. Case poverty is a category of poverty that is most often found in every community. No matter how prosperous the community was at that time, both rural and urban, case poverty is indicated as a poor farming family with a yard full of garbage and has dirty children playing on vacant land. Or usually also indicated as a person who lives in a shabby hut next to the railroad tracks. Or if in an urban community, case poverty indicates as a person living in a basement or living in an alley. The second point is insular poverty. For me personally, it's actually quite difficult to explain what insular poverty is. But we can say that insular poverty is a poverty in which almost everyone associates that they have a low income due to bad natural conditions, such as rocky barren land, lack of natural resource. So the people are poor. But this is an empirically unfounded explanation. In fact, many areas of Europe are as rich in natural resources as West Virginia. However, because their understanding is so strong that their poverty is caused by the region or unfavorable natural condition. Let's next about the modern insular poverty. Modern insular poverty is caused by migration from rural to urban areas. They think that cities offer more hope than rural areas. So, as a result of this migration, the number of poor farming families is decreased. But, for your information, the number of poor from non-farming families is increased dramatically. So, I think that's all what can I say about the categories and poverty. The next point is how to handling poverty that will be explained by Neta. Please take your time.
Okay, thank you, Alvin. Now we come to the last point, which are ways to handle poverty. The first one is to increase the output of both goods and services. This will make the community and the children of the community who are unemployed become productive because they participate in larger economic life. Also, not the main point, the increase in output offers itself as a byproduct of efforts to remove poverty. Second, we can overcome poverty with education. Poverty usually occurs due to poor educational facilities and educational handicap or lack of education due to their inability in terms of cost. Therefore, to escape this obstacle is to provide further education and good educational facilities for those who meet the requirements. Next is investment in children. To remove poverty efficiently, we must invest more than proportionately in children from poor communities. If children from poor families have first-rate school attendance properly enforced, if children's physical well-being is closely monitored, including with opportunities for high-quality further education and adequate recreation, then it is likely that children from the very poor will be able to overcome the barriers imposed by their environment. And lastly, apart from education, adequate facilities and infrastructure for other fields must also be provided, such as good and strong health and nutrition services, clean roads, obeying the law, more and better houses, providing more mass transportations, which is more comfortable, efficient, and effective, as well as a more conducive environment for the effective social participation of all. All of these things can help break away from the grip of poverty on the next generation. So, in conclusion, the evidence that poverty persists is that there are still people who have limited and insufficient food, poor clothing, overcrowded, cold, and dirty living quarters. In addition, they have low incomes that are not even enough to survive. And they are degraded for, in the literal sentence, they live outside the grades or categories which the community regards acceptable. This poverty rate is certainly influenced by several factors, including family size and the place of residence. Those who live in rural areas will be given less income than in cities. Besides, this is also affected by change in lifestyle. Furthermore, poverty is categorized into two types. The first is cash poverty, and the second is insular poverty. Cases of poverty are found in every community, both rural or urban, no matter how prosperous the community of the era. Meanwhile, insular poverty has developed into modern poverty that is insular in character, and the island are the rural and urban slums. And there are several ways that can be done to reduce or even prevent the occurrence of hereditary poverty. Among them are by increasing the output of both goods and services, providing proper education, then investing more in the children of poor communities, and the last is by providing adequate facilities and infrastructure, not only in education, but also for health, housing, and transportation. So that's all our presentation about the position of poverty. We apologize if there are any errors or omission, and thank you so much for your attention.
So, thank you and goodbye.